Welcome to the Leftover Rewatch. We're back after taking a week off, and I gotta say, I'm just gonna say it, one of the best episodes of the series.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
Agree.
Yep.
I mean, if anyone out there wants to disagree with me, I will fight you. I will fight, and unless you're bigger than me, then okay, then I might just have to.
It doesn't matter, Jack, because they're gonna have to fight all of us.
Yeah, that's good. All right, we're working as a team. That's good. I just love this because it's just fantastic. It just.
My top of the notes here say like last week showed what the show can do, like performance and plot wise, but this just is like, hitting you in the gut with the emotion that the show is capable of doing.
Yeah.
And it's the reason why we stay. It's the reason why we're here.
Yeah.
Exactly. It's just such a fantastic episode. And are you guys ready to get into a recap?
Absolutely.
Totally.
We started with Nora asking a family of a departed person questions. And so we're starting to get a gist of what she does for a living. And then we see Nora watching the children, but also the mistress, but she has her gun. Now, how many people at this point, because we don't know why she carries a gun at this point, right? We don't know till later on in this episode why she carries the gun. But anyone think she was going to go out and shoot the mistress? Because we don't know at this point how big her part is. We don't know how important she is to the show.
I don't remember thinking that, but I've seen the show so many times since then, like it doesn't enter my mind.
Yeah,
like we were saying beforehand,
But like I said, you see her staring at the mistress, and then they show the gun. So they're leading us to believe that she's going to go off and just shoot this.
Yeah,
this woman.
It's clever ambiguity.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But again, if we had known her, like say if a week before we see Nora getting shot in the chest by call girl, prostitute, whatever you want to call her, we wouldn't have thought that. It's not till later in the episode they clear it up. I just thought it was clever. But then we see Nora replacing the food with the same food, like the cereal, the everything, the milk. She just replaces the same. She throws it all away. She doesn't eat it. Now, is she hoping that someday her family's going to return and her kids are going to return and they're going to want their Fruity Pebbles and all the other stuff?
I seriously think it's like I hear that if you get your hand chopped off, you feel like there's a hand there for a while. I have a feeling it's like that. It's a ghost feel, a phantom feeling, like it's something she has to do. It's a symbol of her, not letting go.
Yeah. I think it's actually both. Like
Okay.
they're not necessarily exclusive, right? Like you can have the sentiment that Ethan described, and also, you want to be prepared for if they suddenly appear, right? They disappeared suddenly, they can reappear suddenly.
Right.
She's wanting to maintain the last conditions, of when her family was there.
Because nobody, again, we've said this 100 times. We don't know.
Mm-hmm.
No.
We don't know if they're going to return.
And
Right.
and we want season's greetings in our souls and yummy Fruity Pebbles in our bowls, right?
Yeah.
I've never been a Fruity Pebbles fan because have you ever noticed how they just stick to everything?
Yeah.
Never
like
had
my kids, my kids would dump them in the sink and they'd just be stuck to the sink. I go, so if they're stuck to the sink, what are they stuck inside me? What are they doing? So I'm not a bit. And if you're a big Fruity Pebbles fan, I apologize, but I'm just not. We see the empty paper towel roll, just empty. She doesn't replace it, and then she makes an appointment with Angel the prostitute,
Who is not Stevie from Schitt's Creek.
Correct.
Right.
I forgot about that.
Yeah.
I didn't.
Yeah, not even close. But she offers her
a little close.
yeah, okay. She offers her $2,000, $2,000 to shoot her.
Mm-hmm.
$2,000. Now, I think I probably said this in the virtual podcast. Was she looking maybe at the hope? Because I've never fired a gun. I've never fired a gun. I don't know if I could hit somebody in the chest without ever firing a gun before. There's a good chance I would slip and hit him in the head, hit him where the bulletproof vest isn't. Was she hoping at one point that someone would just kill her?
No.
No.
Mm.
No, I think
She just wanted to feel that pain.
it's one of those I just want to feel anything kind of deals. You know what I mean?
I think it's kind of a shock to your system, situation. And also, I mean, she could be. My first thought was she's wanting to get as close to death as you can to try to reconnect with her family in some way. And there's so many religions and theories and cults kind of out there right now that a lot of them believe, random things. To us it would be crazy, but to them it's normal. This in this new world, and this episode does a lot with world building. So
I thought it was a great scene because then Angel goes, "Well, I'll do it for $3,000."
yeah,
Nora goes, "Okay, you can have $3,000," and I'm like going, "Wow, that's a lot of money just to shoot somebody."
If it went really well, Angel probably would have found the other couple K that was in the house.
Jack, I was thinking about you when I watched this again because I was surprised you didn't mention, like, if she does this on the regular, you would think that she would have found like a hitman to do this.
Right.
Instead of a prostitute. But the way that the scene is written is so amazing, right? Because it's like, obviously the first time you watch it, you have no idea where this is going.
Right.
And the person who's hired to do this is like completely like out of their, like, going nuts. Like, they don't want to be there. And the contrast to Nora's demeanor, which is so businesslike, which is just like, okay, yeah, I've done this before. It's fine. I just do this here. And then she's just egging her on almost like a boss would egg on their subordinate to get something done quickly, right?
Well, Angel walks in. She goes, "Oh, the air mattress, is that for us?" No, it's for me.
That's for me.
And you're like going, okay, what is going to go? Because again,
yeah,
we had no clue what was going to go on.
Yeah.
Now you think Angel was asking for an extra K just to get Nora to say no? So she said, "Well, fine, I'm not doing it. I'm out of here." Or did she say, "Well, if I'm going to do this, I want 3,000"?
Probably something.
Probably, yeah.
Like
And I just like to point out again the big leveling up of the power of that intro with the music.
Mm-hmm.
Her waking up and taking that sucking of air and just bam with the with the theme.
Well, I do like that Angel goes to her, "What happened to you?
Right.
What happened to you?"
Calm down, Angel. You're pretty, stop judging so much.
Well, again, if I walk into a house and I'm expecting to do something different, someone goes, "No, here, you're going to shoot me." I'd be like, "You want me to do what?"
It's a little different. It's different.
Okay, so what happens if, okay, say I'm Angel and I mess and I kill Nora? Well, now I could go to jail for murder.
Yeah, she has to explain
Right,
it to
because-
Chief Garvey.
Yeah, who's going to believe that she paid me $3,000 to shoot her?
Well, I would have liked to have seen that scene where Dennis takes the prostitute side and says, "Well, Chief, she sounds pretty credible to me."
All the evidence is there to back up Angel's story.
Well, where's the evidence?
You got the air mattress, you got the Kevlar vest, you got the gun.
she called her.
He called her.
A robbery.
She went through the absolute notebook of sex workers that they have every week in Mapleton.
Well, I just saying it could have been a robbery gone in bed. I wouldn't want to have to explain it. I'm just saying that. Well, Angel shoots Nora and then runs out of the house.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, wow. And then like you said, she comes back and.
Now I got a question. Do you guys think that Slayer CD was in the house before the departure, or is that something Nora picked up?
I think it's afterwards.
Afterwards, yeah.
Yeah, I'm going to say afterwards.
Big into Slayer, that Nora.
And then we have Nora divorcing her husband. Just saying, I'm done. So is she trying to move on with her life at this point, or is it just because she's mad because her husband was stepping out on her? And why all of a sudden now? Why now?
It's a good question. I hadn't thought about that.
It probably has to do a lot with the cheating. I would think so at this point.
Just saying, I'm done with my husband. I want my kids back.
Right.
But my husband can just,
Yeah.
But of course, she said too that she didn't want custody of the kid.
No, she didn't want to change her name.
Didn't want to change her name. That's right.
This kind of, for some reason, I don't know if it matters, but let's talk about it. It reminds me, because I just watched that Tina Turner documentary, which reminds me of the movie Love. What's Love Got to Do with It?
She's a citizen of Switzerland.
Yeah.
I know that because when I was in Switzerland, they must have mentioned it 5,000 times.
5,000 times.
At least.
But she went to court and she gave her abusive husband absolutely everything, and all she wanted was her name, Tina Turner. That's what she built up. She could,
that was her.
That. And this kind of reminded me of that because she says very clearly, I want to remain Nora Durst.
Right.
Right.
Right. So
and then she went on with a singing career, right? Is that?
And then she moved. But she moved to Switzerland, didn't she?
Yeah, and Nora became a citizen of Switzerland. Then she runs into Kevin. She's always running into Kevin. I know it's a small town, but she's always running into Kevin. And Kevin's going for a divorce too. That's what you do.
It must be a special Wednesdays they have.
Does it happen? Because I know here you have to wait a year to file. I think it's something like that.
Some places it's less. Some places 6 months, or where they have Reno divorces, or
I don't know. Here I think it's a year. Not that I've looked into it, but I've heard on the streets. And then Nora asked Kevin, "Hey, you want to go to Miami?" Because she's supposed to go to a conference. He goes, "You want to go to Miami?" He goes, "Well, my daughter lives with me." F your daughter. And Kevin's like,
Excuse me.
What's
no? It's the line is F Lori.
You're right. But here's the thing, and this is actually a good point. I mean, we all talk about F.U. Lori, but has there actually been an F.U. Lori yet so far?
No.
No. I mean, the closest we got was when she is divorcing him, right? Ironically, right?
Right.
So, but I mean, I think the scene was acted so to perfection.
They have great chemistry together. There's no question that you can see them. Actually, they just work really well together.
And especially at this point in time, it shows us a different side of Garvey, where he's kind of like a bit like, no pun intended, deer in the headlights, right? Because we actually I live with my daughter, so, and she just goes, "Oh, F your daughter. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry," and just walks out, right? And the way that she delivers the line is like, it's so forceful, and then she just kind of backs out. And it's kind of like, you don't think about Leftovers as a show that has humor.
Right.
But that is a funny scene.
It is a very funny scene, yes.
I think it's also very interesting about Nora's character, because it's almost like she finds this bright spot of hope suddenly with Kevin. She just she did the divorce thing, and now she sees Kevin, and she's like, almost like, screw it, it's spontaneous. And that's not Nora, not from anything we've seen. She's calculated, things like that. So for her to just up and want to do this, she sees something in him that I feel like she can see the light at the end of the tunnel, sort of, and we're getting glimpses of that.
Did she see him jogging in his gray sweatpants?
Yeah, I knew you were going to go there.
I'm just saying.
Probably.
I think it's worth noting that in the book he did go.
Oh, he did go to Miami, really?
Yeah.
Nice.
It was in Miami or Mexico. Yeah, they went.
Well, like you said, very funny scene, very good scene. I enjoyed it. And then we see Nora talking to her boss, and her boss asks her, how come everyone you interview answers yes to question 121? Now, at this point, we don't know what question 121 is. That's a lot of questions, though. That's a lot of questions to sit there and have to do. And plus, if you've lost a loved one and you have to, in order to get the money, you have to sit there and answer all these questions. I don't know if I'd want the money.
I mean, and the guy basically goes through that when they're at the party at the hotel, too.
Yeah, I just don't know, because it's just, you can see the pain in their faces when she's asking the questions, and then Nora says, he asks, would you use what happened to you? And Nora says, I would never use what happened to me for her results, which, I thought it was a pretty crappy thing for the boss to say.
I absolutely believe her. Do y'all?
Yeah, I believe her.
Okay.
Again,
it's on camera.
Yeah, I don't think she says anything, but there has to be something about her body language through the whole thing.
Like, you're assuming that like when they get to 121, that like instead of like the purely professional look, like she might, like the sides of her mouth might go up just a little bit.
Yeah.
Like or something in the eyes.
Yeah.
I have an entire thing about question 121 that we'll need to go over, but
Nora answered yes all three times for question 121.
Yeah, she likes to throw that
Right.
out too. She really likes to get that in there all three
Well,
times.
upon rewatch, I thought it was that line really hit me hard for her. I felt, wow, she had to sit through that 3 times, and I know she does this to other people now, but it just kind of made, I don't know, it hit a little different.
That's a good point. You mentioned, you're saying that like we talk about all the people that have to sit through it, and she had to sit through it 3 times.
Right.
And we don't know when she did that, if she was already professional, like she was already working for SDS or before.
Well, I'm assuming that's where she gets the money from. All the cash, right?
Yeah.
Maybe that's another reason why she does because she doesn't really feel like she should have the cash to spend.
I think it's meaningless to her.
Yeah, I think maybe that's why she's okay. I'm gonna have people shoot me with a Kevlar vest on, and I'll use the money that I got for my kids and my cheating husband's departure.
High end Kevlar vest for her.
Yeah, well, it has to be because
of course, the part of this scene that I honed in on is just another like just instance of what the bureaucracy looks like in the post-departure world.
Right.
And it's a lot of guys, on the phone, eating sandwiches, talking about stuff in jargon that has big impact on people's lives.
Well, that's pretty much what happens today. Right.
Did anyone catch Nora's DSD ID number?
I did not.
You did. Tell us.
42 ENC.
42.
Oh, I saw that in the script too.
That's one of the numbers.
I just wanted to point that out.
Okay,
That's
all right.
anything either way.
Well, she arrives at the hotel, and there's protesters there, and they want answers.
Lots of answers. Many different answers.
It's a drop conference, right?
Departure-related occupations and practices.
Yes. And then someone hands her a grenade, and she doesn't freak out, and it says any time now.
Yeah, and it's a member of the GR, and a very like most of the male members of the GR that we've seen so far look really scrawny.
Yeah,
like that they could be like executives at Apple, but this guy looked like he could like punch someone in the face.
But if you're walking into and someone hands you a grenade, what would be your first reaction? Drop the grenade and run, or just
panic? And she just shrugs.
She goes, "Okay, grenade."
Well, let me ask you a question. Did you have a sex worker shoot you at your house in a Kevlar vest a week ago?
Not a week ago, but maybe a couple months ago.
That person would probably have a different reaction.
Yeah. She just has and then the hotel has a code of conduct. I've never been to a hotel that made you sign a code of conduct.
Different world culture.
Some of the signs said, like, people were holding up signs that said the World Health Organization is to blame. Mm-hmm. There was another sign that he was saying that the Pope is still alive. He's secretly underground. Don't listen to the Vatican. And obviously the GR, was there too. And I think that's more of the world building here, that we're seeing a lot of people are clinging to religions, cults, whatever you want to call them, in this world. And, we're in.
It's like the first time I went to New York was when I was like 7 or 8, and you get your parents are just walking you through this thing without explanation of how the world is, and you see some crazy S.
Yeah.
At that age, so
you see it at any age.
At any age, but like you take it in, like there's no explanation of why this person is saying this person's up on a soapbox singing this one. So this very much reminded me of the first time I ever went into New York City and walked through that Times Square area before
New York City.
Yeah, you're absolutely right, Ethan. I mean, when I used to work in New York, you'd see some crazy stuff at Times Square. But the thing about it was what made this scene so powerful. First of all, was it was right in front of the Waldorf, where you would assume that a hotel that has its own like internal secret police would have cleared out the front, but you tied that.
Maybe they all departed.
No, we see them later on. I mean, but the point is, it's like there's a higher prevalence of crazy in this world, and there's only so much that the public can do about it.
Right.
And is this the first time we see Manhunter's Tom Noonan, Holy Wayne's man, trying to talk to or have his hand on somebody? Yeah.
I thought that was. I think of him as on Hell on Wheels.
Yeah, I think of him too as Hell on Wheels.
Yeah. No. He's been in everything. He was in Heat. He was in.
No, he's been in a lot of things. It's funny. I just remember him on Hell on Wheels.
Yeah. You're saying, Ethan, he's in the crowd.
Yeah, he's in the crowd. He's holding on. He's like even like almost touching a person,
right?
Like trying to heal them.
Yeah.
I think there's like a lot of similarities between The Leftovers and what's going on in the real world as well. Even modern day, it would literally not surprise me to see somebody holding up a sign saying the World Health Organization is fake or something. I mean, we have like anti-vaxxers and things like that. So I think that's important because we're seeing so much about the show is relevant, to real life.
I mean, that's what's so masterful about it, is in the sense that we hear more of it throughout this episode in terms of how well they researched like what the craziest conspiracy theories were in 2013. Okay?
Right.
And now they've become commonplace on the internet. And it's not that Leftovers predicted anything, right? Like they couldn't predict COVID, right? But they did a good job of thinking, okay, if we take what's extreme today, meaning 2014, and then we ratchet up the level of chaos in the world, like how would this be disseminated in the world? And so I think they did a really good job of, as you always say, world building.
Well, you've always had conspiracy theorists, right, from day one. I mean,
Absolutely.
I'm going to eat that apple. Screw you.
But the point is that, like and they talk about this throughout this episode, in reaction to an extreme, unexplained event like this, all the conspiracy stuff bubbles to the surface.
Right.
Yes.
All right, let's get into the hotel.
We're going to get there. We're going to get there.
We have a book. A book's been written. What's next? So that's pretty exciting. And then someone has taken her badge, and she's not. I think she handles it pretty well. Maybe she's being filmed to me called a Karen. But I probably would have lost it.
Who doesn't take it well? The lady at the desk helping her. I was so mad.
She is terrible.
She's the
worst. Who cares?
Maybe just calm down.
So, question: who's worse, this woman or the guy that worked at the dry cleaner?
This lady by far.
I thought this lady was worse too.
They're both pretty bad.
Yeah, this lady by far. But then again, Nora does sound like Flounder from Animal House. I'm a legacy.
I'm a legacy.
You better stop that. You better stop.
What?
John Belushi's
stop
face.
saying that about Nora.
What? Oh, don't do this.
Now,
Ken Dorfman. He's a legacy.
He's a legacy.
I mean, my first thought was, did it depart? I mean, we've seen so many items on this show, the bagel, things just go missing. Where are they at? Where are my shirts? Oh, I found them. Did I? Nope. I mean, so I'm like, did her badge depart? And I'm like, is she thinking it depart? So that's, I feel like that's also in the audience's mind.
Well, she's also been through a lot. I mean, again, not only did she lose her family, she finds out afterward from her brother that her husband was cheating on her. Mm-hmm. So she has more and more stuff piling up on her. So it's like, I came to this conference to give a speech or whatever, to be on the panel, and you don't have my badge. Why would you give my badge to someone else? Where's my ID? Do I have to show ID? I have to show, when I go to Comic-Con, I have to show ID to get my badge. This is just Comic-Con, right? So there should be a badge. You have a hotel with a code of conduct, right? There should have been something there. But anyway, Nora's not happy, and she goes looking for the badge thief. Mm-hmm. She is just crazy. But then she follows. She sees this girl Margaret, and she thinks, and Margaret's kind of acting sketchy, right?
No, we missed something.
We missed something?
No. She goes to have cocktails.
Does she have cocktails? Yep, she goes to have cocktails first.
Okay, all right. Go
This
ahead.
is a key scene
I didn't write it down. Go ahead.
She meets Marcus.
because this is where
Oh,
Marcus
okay,
enters.
okay, yes.
Okay.
All right.
And Marcus basically is a character.
But he doesn't like. I mean, this is a short interaction.
Right.
But it's
Right.
also
It's
the
just that
introduction.
they meet each other, and then
It's also the first time someone calls her guest.
Yeah. And
Right.
he just keeps calling her guest, and then everybody else keeps calling her guest. Yeah, I didn't write that down, but I do have Marcus in that.
But there are a few key things that he says, Jack, because he points out the guy from Hell on Wheels. Okay.
Yeah.
And he says, I quote, "You might want to watch out for Baldy over there."
That's
Okay.
where you first see him.
So this is very important, Jack.
That's why I didn't write it down.
And,
It's hurtful.
and it's actually the first time we kind of get a hint that he might be somehow connected to Holy Wayne, because he goes around the room asking people, "Do you really want to feel this way?" Right.
Right.
And it's to me actually. Okay, so obviously Marcus is almost like a throwaway character. He's a caricature, right?
Right.
But this is where we're establishing almost like a duality between Marcus and Wayne. Okay, because Marcus watches this guy work through him, and he says, "It's a great effing pitch. I give him that. I mean, who the F wants to feel this way?" Right. So it ties into stuff that the scene later on, but it's already showing that, like, in some ways, Marcus and Wayne are the two sides of the same coin.
A good point. And now Nora, she goes and she's checking out Margaret, and Margaret kind of looks at her, and we're thinking, at this point, I'm thinking, okay, that's the girl that stole her badge.
Mhm.
She goes in the bathroom, and Nora goes, "You can come on out," and she doesn't remember her.
I think one of the big things that happened when she was, walking to meet her was the voice you could hear in the conference room
Yeah,
as she walked by. And I feel like it sums up the show perfectly.
right.
I know you pulled up that list, Eckhart, but do you want to read that, or?
No, you could read it since you pointed it out.
So she's at, obviously she's at this, lecture, and there's all these lectures going on, and it's all about the departure, and obviously, like any Comic Con, it's going to be probably different, things in each one. And as she's walking by, the man says, "We can't deny the rising instances of post-departure delusion disorder," or some pundits have cheekily taken to calling it the prophet's dilemma. For most of humankind's existence, certain individuals have come forth as self-professed interpreters of the world's mysteries. But what happens when those conversations with God go wrong? Following a catastrophic event or circumstance, let alone one that defies scientific explanation, the incidence of prophetic delusion rises dramatically. And this isn't just megalomaniacs who make the news for a week. This is happening to our friends, our neighbors, our own families. This belief that a higher power is speaking to us, whether through dreams or signs, even voices, is a powerful coping mechanism. And if left unchecked, it is a very dangerous one.
Yeah, I latched onto that too. I would say that's probably one of the 5 major themes of the entire show, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they keep returning to it. I mean, especially the intro scene of season 3.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I mean, I actually marked all of that as for after. I mean, I don't have anything to say about it. I mean, but
Oh,
I just
I
have
was just saying. Oh, I have stuff to say about.
No. Eckhart's the one that skipped ahead, not you.
Oh.
But yeah, it's relevant.
Yeah.
Oh, well, I was just going to say, in the context of this scene, or the show, I'll just save it till later, because I'll end up saying something, I guess.
Would you want to finish it, or?
No, it's okay.
All right, we'll see it. Well, Margaret and her have a discussion, and Margaret remembers that Nora called her a heartless bitch. Now, I'm kind of on Nora's side here, right?
Yeah, she said basically said that my kids departed because they ate too much cereal.
Right.
And then she basically just said what she thinks her science is about it, which is just false science bullshit,
Yeah.
and says the same exact thing to Nora. And it's like, you're still saying to her that the kids departed because of that.
I don't know why she was so snotty and so I think she was wrong.
It's actually an interesting, again, duality between, we just heard the guy in the lecture hall talk about the danger of prophets, right? Mm-hmm. And now we have like the danger of people who are like just following statistics to the end. And the thing that bothered Nora was the fact that this woman was saying, oh, we found some sort of correlation between eating cereal and high sugar and pre-adolescent departures. Maybe you shouldn't have fed your kids cereal.
Yeah. Because we see earlier, like we talked about earlier, she's putting cereal back into the replacing the old cereal with the new cereal. So, I just thought Margaret was out of line, and I would have been okay if Nora punched her.
Yeah, especially when she goes, "Yeah, you're doing a lot better now." Well, how much better do you expect her to be doing?
Yeah, I just thought she was way out of line. I thought.
Yeah,
she's heartless.
Pat, if you zoom the camera out, what do we take away from this situation, this world? Like, everyone's pissed off at each other.
Right.
Well, that's what I was kind of getting to in the thing, is that, you know, her walking by that lecture hall, every single person in this world is dealing with the catastrophe.
Right.
Which was people who departed. So when you watch the show, when you immediately watch the show, you need to know that everybody's dealing with a catastrophe, and cults have popped up. People are believing crazy things to wrap their mind around it, period. So we're getting tons of glimpses of all the different ones in this episode.
So there's no sensitivity of people's feelings anymore. It's just people.
No, they say what they think. They, you know, whatever, even if it's like obviously wrong.
Is it because they don't know what the departure is, and maybe it can happen again, and so maybe they're going to be departed, so they just say, screw it, I don't care. Common courtesy is out the window. I'm just going to be a jerk.
It's just elevated stress levels will do that to people.
You know, I only disagree a little bit because of what happens, you know, and I'll talk about when they get up to the party.
Well, that's coming up.
Yep.
Well, we have Nora just go out ready to get on an elevator, and who's there? Marcus in the game. Come on in, guest. On
this edition of Ethan Was Wrong.
It wasn't the girl from Schitt's Creek.
No, it wasn't. This is where she sees Tom Noonan in the elevator trying to heal the guy.
Yeah.
Okay.
She doesn't get in.
Yeah.
Right.
Go ahead.
That's a strange place to. Why the elevator?
They're living it up when they're going down.
It's like get a room, you know.
It's literally a place where you can do that.
I guess. So she gets. Go ahead. She gets in the elevator. She goes to this party, and we find out that legacies are called oranges.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like, there's got to be some sensitivity if these people are at least looking to see on people's badges if they have those orange stickers.
Yeah.
Where they say those kind of things.
Now, did this help that Nora didn't have her badge?
I think this is when she first realizes that she could live in this guest character for a while and see what's going on, you know? But I was just thinking, like, there is, you know, to what Caleb said, there is some kind of sensitivity a little bit, you know?
But that might be superficial.
Yeah.
Like...
But do you think they would have said those same things if she was there with her badge, with her orange sticker?
Well, is that being said? It's still you're still saying it behind their back. So it's like, are you really being sensitive? It's like, okay, yeah, I can't say that about that. It's like, you know, someone if you're a racist, but you don't say it around.
Exactly. I mean, I would say this what's happening is even worse, because they're like, you can see how insensitive they are. Like, they're saying, how long do I still have to apologize to these people?
Yeah,
right?
Exactly.
I mean, that is like the most insensitive thing you can do. And these people more or less work in the industry of trying to help these people.
Exactly.
Right? Yeah.
Exactly.
And they're just doing it for the cash.
Yeah.
It's a new market, you know?
Yeah. So what's going on? Nora takes a pill, and Marcus is the one that sells the lookalikes for $40K. And he says, well, people have to have something to bury. They want to have something to, So he almost makes a good point, but then you realize he's just a salesman. That's just his.
He's a good salesman.
Yeah, it just hey, I'm making he's not making $40K, but he probably makes a good percentage of what he sells.
So he's doing it so he could get a loved one, man, his own.
So Jack, I have a question for you.
Okay.
All right. So as I was watching this, obviously the first time we watched this, we weren't paying as closely attention, but how long did the actor who played Marcus, how long was he hanging around Raleigh in order to glean these moves off Jay Glatfelter? And how were you able to hide that all these years? That's what I want to know.
Jay has that.
I mean, and I'll tell you where this came out. Like the last time I heard Jay on a podcast, okay, he has like a much more upbeat voice now, and I'm quite jealous because he can speak really fast, and he's much more eloquent now.
He doesn't have squeaky.
Yeah, than back then. But I mean, when I saw this, if I made the comment about that guy in the first episode being Jay, that might have been Jay in high school. Marcus is basically the grown-up Jay Glatfelter.
Jay can be a good salesman. Jay, he likes to sell. But then we find out because Nora says, "Well, you're married."
Yeah.
He goes, "Can I kiss you?" He goes, "But you're married." I mean, at least they asked first. Right.
This guy, what my note is, this guy is the best salesman since the luggage salesman in Joe versus the Volcano. Who's my personal favorite salesman in a movie ever. And he's really good right now in a show called Made for Love on HBO. So check it out.
Made for Love.
Yeah. And I'll hammer home the concept again, this duality between Marcus and Wayne, because he describes it in much more of a economic standpoint in terms of that they're providing something, they're meeting the demand with the supply.
Mm-hmm.
But in many ways, I mean, they're selling the same thing, right? Some sort of closure, right?
Right.
And it's something I would have never thought about in the first watch through, right? But it's almost like Marcus's approach is a quintessential American way of dealing with grief, right? Which is what is it called? Consumer therapy. Shopping therapy, right?
Well, yeah, like I said, you're selling a lookalike for $40K. I just think that's steep. But again, if you can't move on, and this is one way to cope with it, I guess, like you said, he's doing what.
And the episode spotlights this with the fact that, again, I think Ethan pointed this out, that when this originally aired, they had the advertisement for it, right?
Yeah, they have that commercial, that loved ones commercial.
But they do it without actually showing the product, which gives it even more mystique, right?
And I just was curious as why they never ever do that again. Like, I don't know if it's on DVDs or something, but every time it's streaming.
Well, they probably didn't need to do it again.
Oh, okay.
Right.
It's a bit 6 feet under, really, because they were doing that stuff all the time on 6 feet under.
Well, they only wanted to do it once.
Right. The thing about Nora is, I feel like she has her own quirks, and we know this. But she also doesn't tolerate the bullshit. She walks straight by all that, like we mentioned earlier with the grenades and everything. And I think was an amazing scene that he stands there and tells her, this is here, this is real. Mm-hmm. I want them to feel something real. And then asks to kiss her. And what does she do? She kisses the fake body as if, is this real to you?
Right.
Yeah.
Because then he starts saying, I'm so jealous. I'm so jealous. So she just points out the bullshit in such
she's also
very
smart. She's also very smart. I mean, that was one way to get back at him. you know.
Yeah.
But I do like that. Is this the first time Nora's really cut loose? Because she see her dancing after she's taken the pill and all that different stuff. Is this the first time since her family has departed that Nora has become? It's just say, okay, I'm letting my hair down to say, you know,
allowed herself to experience some happiness.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like I always say, taking drugs is way better than shooting yourself.
Normally, yes. But then it doesn't last long because security's knocking on her door and waking her up. She's like, and they think that she's being thrown out because they said she broke the mirror in the bar, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then she goes, it wasn't me. But they throw her out anyway. You signed a code of conduct. You're out of here.
The audience really doesn't know what at this point. The audience doesn't really know if it happened off camera. You know what I mean?
But there's no cameras in the bar. There's no cameras in the hotel.
That's what you asked last time too.
Yeah, it doesn't make sense.
It's all very shady, like how they, kick her out without trying to even listen to her or talk.
Yeah, to her. And it's this weird arbitrary nature of this world, right? Like you said, like there's no presumption of innocence. Like it's just like, okay, Nora, someone with Nora Durst's badge broke this, and she's in this room, so we got to throw her out.
Yeah, because she looks. I don't have a bag, and they're going through her. They're actually packing her stuff.
Yeah.
To get her, I'd be like, well, I don't know if that's in the code of conduct. I didn't read it, so I don't know if that's allowed. But then we see Nora in a bathroom cleaning herself up, and she gets a new badge. She's not taking it. She's going.
But this is like the Super Bowl for hotel security at this place, though, right? This is like Super Bowl Sunday at Pizza Hut. You know what I mean? Like they're just all up in their thing. This is mostly what their job is, and it's at peak crazy season. So they probably have a list of people to kick out from the night before.
It could be, yes. Didn't think about that. She walks back in the hotel, but she's caught again. Security catches her again.
1 second. So she goes down the street to Kinko's. Some guy waves, "Hi, how are you doing?" to her. They really take a minute to spotlight him, saying, "Hi, how are you doing?" And after much research, that's the dude in the elevator with the Tom Noonan.
Oh,
really?
Oh, really? The guy that was.
Oh, yeah. I did catch that too. Yeah.
I did not catch that. Good catch.
Obviously, he got a hug.
Right. But to be fair, that guy didn't look like he had that many troubles in life before he got the hug, so you wouldn't really know that much of a difference. So,
but I like that Nora's making her case, and the guy's like, geez, just leave me alone.
I love the duality between this scene of her convincing the security boss and Matt convincing the casino boss a few episodes back.
Good point.
That's how you know they're actually related.
And then Nora goes up there. She sees fake Nora. And the security's like, oh, wow, she was right. And then she called out fake Nora. Then fake Nora just starts saying, blah, 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 blah.
I wrote us all down what she said.
All right, then you say it because I didn't.
Well, before that, she's being hassled by the hotel manager or whatever, and he doesn't even believe her.
The hotel dick.
Until he tells her that.
Detective.
Until she tells him that she's a legacy and that she lost, and he's like, Jesus Christ, your whole family, and leans back in his chair, and maybe from around there or whatever city this is happening in, it's not as common, or obviously she's still getting tons of sympathy for it, but that makes him try to side with her a little bit.
That's a good point. Yeah,
but still not to the point of the believing her. Still to the point of, well, let's just say you had a bad night.
Right. Yeah. But that was kind of the turning point, and that's when he said, "What are the odds?" And she literally says 1 in 128,000,
right.
And it's like she knows that number by heart.
Right.
It's actually the exact same amount of chances of 4 people being departed from perfect strangers.
Really?
And 128,000.
Wow. I did not know that.
I know.
You said you had something you wanted to read?
Oh, wow. Cool. Wow. Jay's being a dick tonight. Or Jack's being a dick tonight. That's cool. Okay.
No, I am not.
Okay. Well, I guess other people had brought this up, but this is the first time I watched it with subtitles.
Mm-hmm.
And so before Eckhart supplied us with this fine script work, I wrote this down. The DSD is a smokescreen. The questionnaires are sent to incinerators outside Tallahassee, Florida. The benefit payments are a way to silence us all. In 2005, the Israeli Mossad was experimenting with a plasma ray that could target all of human matter and leave almost no residue. Where are your experts and panels on that?
Yeah. And I mean, again, my reaction when I heard that was they did a gruesomely good job of researching the way that conspiracy theories always end up in the same spot, right? Which is either anti-Semitism, anti-Masonic, anti-Templar Knights, always ends up in the same place, and that's usually the climax, right?
So, they always end up in Florida.
Oh, poor Florida. Well, they deserve it. Anyway, then she go. Where am I at here? I lost my place. She goes to the bar and she finds the guy that wrote the book, and she's Patrick Johansson, and she really calls him out. And is she right to call him out?
Yeah.
Yeah, because there's the line that he says. Well, she says, "What's next? Why is there no question mark?" And he was like waiting for something to come, and she corrects him by saying, or waiting for someone to come, and she corrects him by saying, waiting for someone to come back,
right?
As if like you've already. Like, I don't know what you're doing and how, you're writing a book or whatever you're doing over here. But for him to be a writer and for him to use his words that way, she picks up on that immediately and knows better. And that's why she's like, you're a fraud.
Yeah, well, she says to him about his one your grandparent. Like they had a lot of life left anyway.
In their 70s, you know, and you're counting them as people you lost. Mm-hmm.
Well, technically he did. If they did depart, he lost them.
Right. Yeah.
This reminded me of a scene from Lost, when Saeed is questioning Henry Gale about burying his wife.
Oh, okay.
At the campsite. And he said, kind of the same impassioned speech from Saeed that Nora gives here. It's like if you had known, you would have known your fingernails. You would have known the dirt under your fingernails. If you knew what it was really like to lose somebody, you wouldn't have written a book. Mm-hmm. Because we're feeling real pain. And you can go out and have conversations about this with your daughter running around, but I can't. So F you, Lori, on to Nora. But it really reminded me of that.
Plus, could you write a book and then again comes down to you're profiting on your family being being departed. I mean, you're profiting on this, which I'm sure he sold. I mean, he's at this conference only to sell his book.
Right. I mean, or he's at the conference because he's being paid to speak because the book has sold so well.
Right.
And it does show like a much more flexible set of morals. But the point that Nora makes, which is almost like a very ascetic one, is that she defines loss as having nothing left, right? Okay. She defines it as I lost everything, right? So she thinks that you can't experience loss unless you've lost everything.
Right.
And probably the broader definition that he clings to is I lost a lot, but I still have something left.
Right.
Right.
Mm-hmm. So it's hard to really argue that one is right versus the other.
Right.
But we can understand where Nora's coming from in terms of her frustration. And also, I mean, let's take a step back. What is Nora doing with her? Let's talk about this. In her town, she's kind of like the Patrick Johansson, right?
Right.
Where she knocks over the cup and somebody brings it back, and people kind of whisper when she comes along, so she gets the respect. And now
But there's been instances of people, like even the judge in the episode that even the judge was like, "Oh, your kid's departed." She didn't know. And Jack, you pointed out somebody else. You mentioned one episode like aren't they all supposed to know her? Why is, nobody, even Kevin was like, who is this? Or one of the police officers.
Yeah, Kevin didn't know who she
So
was.
I think that there's also that sense of everybody's caught up in their own thing, that they don't see anybody else's thing. So sorry, just want to throw that out there, not to bust your theory or whatever.
But Ethan, let's unpack this. Like, do we think that in her town that Nora kind of acts like Johansson, or is she at the other end of the extreme in the sense that she hasn't tried to abuse this?
Well, Johansson doesn't have the same thing they were talking about with the disciple syndrome or whatever it is, but he does have enough, as they say in my people, chutzpah, to think that what he says can help people or can matter to people. Do you know what I mean? And I don't think Nora is at that point yet. I don't think she feels like she would ever have anything to say to anyone.
Right.
To tell them how to be better.
But she does. I forget. Maybe it was you, Ethan, that brought up. She does bring up that at least you can talk to your daughter.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, totally.
I can't. So it's a matter of, because we live in a world where a lot of people say I have it worse than you.
Right.
And we all handle grief and disappointment differently. So, like you guys are saying, like you're saying, it's that's maybe him writing a book and him obviously profiting on it, but maybe that's how he coped with it.
I wonder if part of I'm working backwards now through this conversation, I'm wondering if part of her frustration also is the fact that his book is all focused on helping people move on, and part of that means accepting that they're not coming back.
Right. And she's not accepting
and
that
she yet. Is, as we're going to see in a few scenes, like her whole thing is about hoping they come back. So it's it's the fact that we're spending 8 minutes here talking about this and still trying to dissect it shows just how well the scene was written.
He also mentions that it's not grief, it's never-ending ambiguous loss.
Yeah.
And I think that's when it got her. I think that's the moment she was like, I'm over this.
Is there a difference between those two things?
Well, maybe to some people it is, and some people it's not. Again, we're not robots, so I've been watching Battlestar Galactica, but anyway, so we're all different. So that's
what are we asking? What's going on?
Difference between ambiguous
ongoing ambiguous loss and grief.
Oh,
just for me, I mean,
yeah, I'm saying that's what he's saying, that it's not grief, it's a never-ending ambiguous loss, and that's why she flipped out.
Yeah,
because he's muddling it up with all these fancy words and trying to make something out of it. And
do we think is he sincere, or is it just him?
If he was sincere, he wouldn't have said that to her about his daughter. Well, I'm sorry, he may not have known that. Surely he saw her badge, right? I don't know. Anyway,
no, I don't know if he had it, but like that's the thing. He's got the balls to think that what he says will help people.
So it's interesting. But go ahead, Jack.
I'm saying maybe he has.
Yeah.
Maybe because maybe there are people that read the book saying, "Oh, thank you, I now understand it." So maybe in his mind, because so many people said, "Oh, your book, you've sold so many copies, and now I feel better about myself." So maybe he believes his own.
Yeah, because in many ways, he's the first instance or character we have in the show that we kind of categorize as almost like a new age, like motivational speaker. He doesn't have a religious bent. And obviously, in some ways, he's a derivative of Holy Wayne, right?
Right.
Because we know they went to see him. So I'll say this, like I think they did, like they do throughout the show, an amazing job of casting somebody who exudes a certain amount of like positivity and confidence, and who's overcome something difficult.
Well, to this point, have we seen anybody that has had a loved one departed act like it's no big deal? Except Johansson. I mean, everyone else, every time you see Nora interviewing someone, they're depressed. You see Nora, she's obviously depressed, and you have other people that have been affected by it. It's just, we've said that before, this show, season 1 is depressing. It's not hey, cheery. And he's like going, hey, got to move on. This is this and this and this.
Right. It's the polar opposite of the penguin. Right, Ethan?
Yeah. That's fun. I was going to say, because you guys brought it up and you're saying, Eckhart, about like a mirror to Wayne almost. Wayne started in the book as a Patrick Johansson type.
Interesting.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he started very like secular. He even like mentioned not being religious in like his first like meeting where he talked to people at a church.
Nice.
And he grew into what Wayne kind of was at the beginning of the show.
Right.
Yeah.
Got it.
With all his disciple issues.
All right. We ready to move on?
Yes, we are.
That was a great discussion. I liked it. Let's see. Then the bald-headed guy, that's what I wrote down, tells Nora he can prove Johansson is a fraud. And Nora goes with him.
He can do whatever he wants as long as he carries that luggage up those steps.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Not doing that.
It's $1,000 to find out what happened. And she goes, here's $1,000.
And they could do it over PayPal.
Yeah, PayPal. Yeah. Now, was PayPal new back then? Was that a?
I don't think it was that new.
Okay, I don't know because I don't pay attention to these things.
But what's nice is it really does underscore like the shadiness of the operation, right?
Right. Yeah, PayPal. We take all credit cards and PayPal and
all this laptop.
And nothing about this looks awesome from a going in perspective.
I just thought it was new. I said, "Oh, did they put that in there? Like, is that like a what do they call it, a product placement? Where they people? Oh, I gotta get PayPal now." She talks with Holy Wayne, and he knows what Nora is going through. So this is where we actually see Holy Wayne in action, where he's doing stuff. He asks Nora. Nora asks if she'll forget them. And it's a great scene. It's a great acting, and then Nora cries, and she's just letting it all out. So basically, is Holy Wayne just a good hugger? Is that what he makes money off that? Or does he really have some kind of mythical powers that
he has a way with words? That's for sure.
Yeah, I think we should just get to the end of the episode, then get deep.
Okay.
Yeah. But then Nora seems happier. She leaves. She seems happier. She's not stalking the daycare lady because she comes. The mistress comes looking up. Where's she at now? And she's not there. She has a new roll of paper towels. Mm-hmm. Life is good. And then Kevin knocks on Nora's door. Mm-hmm. And Kevin asks Nora out for dinner. And we're like, oh, they're gonna go out on a date.
And Matt's on the phone trying to apologize.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, Matt. Yeah, he's a jerk. At this point, he is. And then we find out question 121 is, do you believe The Departed is in a better place?
The answer, no.
And and the person answers no. Mm-hmm. So the first time someone answered no. So was she influencing people's by the way she asked it? Could she is there some way she could have been saying, all right, are these people in a better place? But 120, I mean, everyone else answered yes to that question, and she finally got a no.
Well, I think the question we have to ask is, obviously something changed about Nora, and it's only one or two things, right? It's either because of the Holy Wayne hug, or because she kissed the Jay Glatfelter dummy. So I'm not sure which one it is. I'm seriously torn, right?
Now, when people are answering, are people in a better place? Are they answering because the world post, Departed is so terrible? It's a depressing place. So are they in a better place because they're not experiencing the pain that everybody else is going through right now? Mm-hmm. Is that why people are answering yes? Because
first of all, I think Nora's definitely telegraphing something subconsciously.
She does have yes tattooed on her forehead. I did notice that.
And I think they're asking if they think they're in heaven.
Yeah, that's what my interpretation.
Well, I think that, but I'm saying, but if you were to ask, we've said how every episode we talk about how depressing life is now and how it's people are struggling to keep to get going. We see the kids are not. It's a messed up world right now. Would we agree?
Yeah.
Because it's an event that you can't explain because nobody can explain how they departed. I mean, we've had tragedies all the time, but you can go, okay, that was because this. You can always pencil back. Okay, that's why this happened.
Mm-hmm.
But this you can't.
Right.
These people just vanished. They just left forever for 3.5 years. So when people are asking, are they in a better place? Yeah, because they're not in this shithole anymore.
So is that your answer? Yes.
I'm just saying. I don't know how I would answer it. I'm just
How
saying,
would you answer it?
Well, it depends. If I lost my family, I don't know. I honestly don't know how I'd answer it. I mean, I'd be like Nora. I'd be like,
What if you were in Nora's position? How would you answer it?
I'd probably say yes because they weren't living in my because to me it's who would want to be around me.
I mean, the weird thing
If I'm
about
like
this, the weird thing about this is let's just break down the question, right? Do you think they're departed or are in a better place? And if someone's giving you some sort of signals, there'd have to be some sort of like kind of influencing you to think that they're better off, right? And you would kind of assign that type of situation to somebody who is genuinely positive, right?
Right.
And what we know about Nora up to this point in time is that, sure, she's professional, but there's very little in her life that exudes positivity, right? So that's why this was so strange to me, how, like, if she was influencing them, how would she actually influence them to think something positive? How would she actually stream her own hope to them, right? And up until they actually showed what the question was, I assumed that the question was, do you think that your departed will return? Because that's basically her main thought, right?
Right.
So, Ethan, I'm curious to hear from you how you think she actually influenced them.
This thing that I just wrote down popped in my head right now. I haven't really have any notes here on this, and so this is in a box. This is in a box about this subject on this episode of this show. Okay, Caleb, what I'm about to say is about this episode right here on this show and nothing else.
What about next week's episode?
No, it's not about next week's episode. It's about this episode.
About season 3.
Jack's already said writers go around and have book things and have people tell them that it meant something to them. So I've already been offended once.
Okay. All right. Poetry is different. Poetry from the heart. Okay? My question: you asked me how did she change them, and she said she answered yes all 3 times, and this just popped in my head now. Is Nora lying to herself? Did she say yes 3 times because that's all she knows how to say? Because if she says no, in a way to even think about her departed in that headspace of no, they're not in a better place, is that even too much to even fathom? So she answers yes for her 3 times.
I agree because I think because like we said before, everyone she's interviewing is depressed, and it's just like they've lost somebody and they can't cope with it. So why would you say no, they're not in a better place? Because you want to believe they're in a better place. I mean, whether it's heaven, whatever, because they leave it vague for a reason.
Even if she tilts her head a little bit and smiles when she says better place, what she doesn't know she thinks about it, that could be telegraphing yes.
So we're going to assume, and it's impossible to confirm unless we talk to our good friend Damon Lindelof about this.
Yeah,
is we assume that when they get to 121, that she's thinking about every time she answered yes, and that gets communicated to whoever she's talking to through some sort of.
She has every single person answering yes, every single one,
and she's the only one.
She's you should almost call her lying to herself champion at this point.
But are they saying it? Are they saying? What I'm saying, are they saying it yes because you want to believe that?
It's all love.
Wouldn't you want? Okay, if you're going to answer no, then you're like, okay, they something terrible. Obviously, something terrible happened, but
yeah.
So now we should assume I mean, we're kind of. I'm not sure why they wouldn't have included this scene otherwise, right? Now we're to assume that something changed in her this episode, and I'm going to posit that it was the Holy Wayne scene.
But
that released something that she no longer has that anxiety at that moment when she's doing her work, so that she's no longer subconsciously sending these signals to people to answer the question that way.
I took it a little differently to mean that the whole episode was trying to show how she can like get to the moving on process. And as soon as she gets confirmation from Holy Wayne, and as soon as she, hugs him, she gets her first no.
Yeah.
And it throws everything off for her again. And I feel like now it's like, for her, it's starting the process all over. Why is there a no suddenly? Everything was going well. Why would anybody answer it this way? So I think that it was trying to because it kind of showed her a little taken aback by it.
I gotta strongly disagree there, simply because I think that even though I think we know now that we've seen the show that Wayne is a massive placebo effect, like on a massive level. That's what I think. I think when she goes back to work, Nora is 100% business.
Okay.
And the only time she couldn't be 100% business was when she got to question 121. And so now that when she does go back to 121, she's back to 100% business. Right. And so she asks it, and she telegraphs nothing, and they come out with what they really think in the worst possible case, which is, the worst possible case is no.
Right. All right, let's talk about Holy Wayne, since you refer to him as a placebo. Okay.
A great, by the way, like one of the best scenes in the entire.
Yes.
Show. And Tom Perrotta says it's his favorite scene of the entire series.
So, and I'm sure it's one of Damon Lindelof's favorite scenes. So let's
it's a great scene.
This. Okay. I don't know how I missed this the first time. Okay. Maybe because the whole episode was so good, but the way that he analyzes her, and I don't know, what is the right term, Ethan? Is it a cold read? You're more versed with this, the stuff from the underground.
From the mentalism or that kind of stuff. Yeah.
Or is it she doing it like when people they say they can talk with the dead? They generalize questions.
Yeah, there's nothing specific in there. Like there's nothing specific.
But he's okay. So he knows how to pick up on reactions, right?
Correct.
And
that's what con people, that when people are a con,
exactly
I don't want to say con man but people that are con artists.
Well, absolutely. But the point is that in order to be a good con artist, you have to have a good understanding of the human psychology,
right? And
you need to be able to read signs. So in some ways, it kind of ties into this whole question of 121 in terms of what signs she's giving off. And what's amazing about that scene is he goes, you've lost someone. Yes. I mean, that's an obvious question. And then by her reaction, his eyes light up, right? And she goes, someone's, right? Because he's done this so many times, right? And sure, I mean, the stuff that he then says, and you believe that you will always feel that pain. If it starts to slip away, you seek it out again, don't you? And I agree with you, Ethan, that says that some of the stuff might be boilerplate. Even that you won't let it kill you, but you won't kill yourself, right? Because she's obviously alive, right? But still, it's brilliant in the sense that you're probably right. It's all con artistry, but it describes her down to the T.
Yeah. Well, that's why that stuff works, because there's only so many different ways people.
Well, because people want to believe.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And she needs it. There has to be a dam to break. Okay, so we're officially spoiler territory. Okay.
Yeah. Well, go ahead.
But I mean, just thinking about what happens to Patty or Kevin later, like how many layers do you need to break before you get to some plane of normalcy, right? This is her first plane that's being broken here. So I mean, and just to kind of go back to what Caleb said a little bit about what he thought was happening when the person said no. It's like in the next episode, I think we start to see her and Kevin kind of like go out. So, there's been something that has shifted permanently for her.
Right.
But I mean, she doesn't
Oh,
know.
yeah, I was just saying that the episode does a good job of making you think that, what I said about or whatever.
That I really honestly don't think it happens until she walks downstairs and sees those dummies in that house.
Would she have been ready to go out with someone if she hadn't found out from Matt that her husband was cheating on her?
That's a good question.
That is a good question.
Because she's not ready to move on from her kids. And also, too, another thing that hampers her is that everybody in this small town, the people that know her, treat her with kid gloves, and they treat her, oh, that's that poor woman that lost her whole family. That's that poor woman. Even when they had that terrible statue they unveiled, and she's lost her. And it's like, oh, so no one's real. All she's getting is that there's no. What word I'm trying to look for? She's not getting any release. She's not getting any. It's just the same thing every single day. I lost my family. I lost my family. Yes, I lost my family. Yes, I lost my family. You feel sorry for me because I lost my family. She doesn't get that. So when Wayne gives her the hug, he goes, "Yeah, I understand you lost your family. Let's hug it out." Cry.
I would say like the hug is really only like the last part, and what's interesting is that up until this point in time, we hear about these magic hugs, but what we don't hear about is this preamble, right? Okay, Wayne is an a-hole. Okay, yeah. I mean he admits it. He comes into the room and he says something like, "You've never heard of me before," and he says, "I don't care who you are. I already got your money, so you might as well get a hug," right? But as he starts getting into the act, you can see something shifts in him, and he really enjoys it, and he goes full bore. He's quoting like poetry and everything, but he's able to, within just a few lines, help Nora open up. She's crying, and she tells him what she hasn't told anyone else, what her greatest fear is. And what is that?
That she would forget them.
Exactly. Yeah. And he says never, because he's got her in the palm of his hand.
Now, is Wayne, now, we saw the congressman that he helped, and he now helped Nora. Now, obviously, he's a con man, but is he doing some good?
Yes.
Definitely.
And that's what makes this so deliciously complex. Because you see almost like two sides of his personality within the scene. And the first one he's just sitting there. He hasn't had a shower in 2 weeks.
Right.
Still wearing the same clothes from the ranch.
And Nora still wants a hug?
And the fact that within a period of like 90 seconds, he was able to extract all that information and do it in such a way that was just so impactful, right? That I think probably the best way to describe him, tying him back to that scene in the lecture, was that, like, and again, this is where Ethan's tidbit about the book makes sense, is that he was probably pretty good at this, and then it got to a point where he just became a megalomaniac. And he was wondering, like, I'm so good at this, it can't just be like some sort of skill that I developed. I must be helped by God.
He believes it.
Yeah, that's the point. It's like spoiler alert, his biggest struggle is he's wondering if he actually has a gift or not, right?
Right.
If he has some sort of like, if he's actually holy Wayne or just regular Wayne, right? So.
He's done it so long, he believes his own crap.
Yeah.
And when people are telling you that, and start hanging around you, and you get a ranch built around you, and you know what I mean? You are the lamb and whatnot,
But it's just like, we all agree that like his analysis of Nora was spot on, right?
Right. It was, yeah. But how many?
Come on, Ethan, say it.
What?
It was spot on.
Well,
I can't say it was spot on, because it would be spot on for like, okay, so my brother's a magician. I work for magicians. I literally just watched a whole show of magicians doing this exact same thing. I can't say that simply
saying
because
the rabbit really doesn't disappear.
That's Ethan. I'm glad you said that because I was wondering as I'm watching this how Ethan was actually interpreting all this. Given
I
that
wasn't even
yeah,
thinking about it from that point of view at all because it gets me so emotionally. Like just the whole like never, like will I miss them? Never, and then she hugs him, and they hug it
Well,
out. She doesn't.
but he's how many people has he given hugs to? He, like I said, he knows his
Thousands.
craft. He knows the right answer to give. He wouldn't say, "Yeah, you're going to forget him as soon as you hug me." He knows that's not true.
Yeah, and he knows
You're
that
never going to forget your kids. I don't care what happens. You're never going to forget your kids. There's no way.
Mine. He's only for an hour.
Well, sometimes you block them out.
If you're watching this, future buddy, I love you. Okay, I'll just go for a laugh. Okay?
Let's save that. It's at the 1:15 mark.
Yeah,
Hour and 15 mark.
not at the 1:21 mark though.
No.
Caleb, you had more to say. I can feel it.
Yeah.
I was just going to circle back to the whole question of do you believe The Departed is in a better place? Because I think, I wrote down a few notes like, are all those who say yes delusional? Are they just hoping, believing in a God, a different religion, a cult? What better place could someone be in if not right here, right now, in the same place as their loved one? What reasons would someone have to say yes? And then I thought about how today, especially in the South, people will be like, well, they're just in a better place when somebody dies.
Right.
And that over time has become, especially to someone like me, like an atheist, if I lost somebody close to me, I would not want somebody saying that to me. And you see that a lot in film and you see that a lot in film and TV shows now. People be like, they'll flip out. They'll be like, what do you mean they're in a better place? They're dead, they're, grief or whatever. But I feel like this goes back to the conference where they say that belief, when left unchecked, can be dangerous. And all these people are saying yes. All those people are saying yes. And it's for some reason, whether it's a god or a cult or they think they, flew away on a spaceship or whatever, they're saying yes. But at the end, you have this one lady saying no. And I think that's the more real moment in that lady understands. Because if you notice, the question that Nora asked before that, I believe, was your person a religious person? And the lady said yes. So why that person would have every reason to think that they were in a better place, but yet she still says no. And I think that's just really important, especially when you take it back to the conference room and them talking about religions and all that getting out of hand. And it starts with that question, kind of, are they in a better place? Where do they go? And
well, it's great, right? It's great writing because how long have we spent on this one question? I mean, seriously, I mean, did we really get an answer?
Well, it's another theme of the whole show.
Yeah.
Right.
It's how you look at the show. And I said this about Lost 1,000 times. You get 10 people in a room, they'd all watch it and all come out with a different conclusion of what happened.
13 different answers.
Yeah. Because you, like you said, you have, what does it mean? Are they in a better place? Like for me, I say, yeah, I would hope they're in a better place. Because I especially if I lost three loved ones, I'd be like, yes, because I don't want to. Now, what would Nora answer after she had her hug from Holy Wayne? What would her answer be?
That's another good question.
Oh, and we just completely skipped over the very beginning where it begins. Well, I mean, you mentioned it, but like, is it the first gay character in the show? She mentions your husband to the man and says, she's doing her whole departure thing, asking him questions, and she asked if he'd ever try to self-harm, I believe, if his husband. And first of all, he said, she said, was he born in a hospital? And he said, I'm not sure, I don't know. And then she said, the next question, are you, did he try to self-harm or whatever? And then he was like, sighed, and there was this lingering moment, and then he finally said, well, he told me in high school and you could almost see it, I felt like, on Nora's face and his face, kind of like he just effed up, like he's not going to get any money now because of that one thing, or at least it's going to really decrease how much money or whatever that he does get.
Yeah.
Did y'all get that feeling at all because of that one question, the way it was answered? Do you think people get different amounts of money because of certain things? Because
I don't know.
In life here in the real world, when you die by suicide, there is usually no payout to your surviving relatives.
Right.
So I would assume the same applies in this world. And if they're trying to get loopholes to not pay people, I mean, that could be a valid reason.
That's a great question. I thought it was they're just trying to gather information on, like if you eat too much sugary cereal, you're going to depart.
Well, there is an interesting, isn't there, during the drug escapade, isn't one of the guys like complaining about how the insurance industry is handling this whole situation?
Yeah.
So there is definitely a tie into that.
Yeah.
But is it funded by the government though? Is it funded by?
Well, the DSD, the Department of Sudden Departure.
Yeah. So it's the government's money, right? Our money.
Yeah.
Also, Marcus mentions about the dolls that are the fake bodies that people send in photos, videos, and we already know that people have had photos stolen.
Right.
Oh yeah, they're dropping these hints
So
left.
there's
Right.
a little
And
hint.
I know I didn't catch it at the first time around.
Yeah.
Oh no, for sure not.
But they were hitting us over the head with it. That's for sure.
Yeah. Now I did want to go back to something Caleb said earlier. When the badge, you thought the badge the first time you saw this, the badge departed.
Oh, I mean, I'm saying that I thought, yeah.
like he was saying, like the bagel
on the shirts.
The shirts.
I mean, I feel like they went out of their way. The deer, they went out of their way to continue show us items, and then suddenly people start looking for them, and they're gone. Yeah. And the whole premise of the show, from what I knew, was that people departed. I didn't know if things were starting to go. I didn't know what was going on.
Well, that's the thing, and it just popped to me because they don't even start into that heavy secondary departure stuff like until season 2. Like it's just a thing that never even occurred to me because I was laid down the rules of the show where there was a departure.
Right.
But it's part of this thing where Nora says in season 2 that the first place she worked in at the DSD was secondaries. And then secondaries just becomes a whole big thing in season 2, as we know. But I just clearing up in my head that they don't even bring that up in this season. That's from a bureaucratic standpoint.
Yeah. Boy, that question 121. How did anyone get it right on the test?
Now, so basically, they're leading us to believe that after.
Is there none of the above? Can you say I don't know?
No, Nora's made that clear.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because you don't know. Because you don't know. You don't know.
By the way, going back to this whole angle of how do people get benefits for the situation? What that guy in the hotel said was an interesting point. Was he said that because the departure is not really well defined in some sort of from a legal framework, the life insurance companies didn't pay out.
Right.
Which is why the government had to step in. So, like Caleb was saying, in the sense that, there's a certain arbitrary nature in life insurance in terms of things that you won't pay out on. And so the government has that power here as well.
Do you think there's like a mailing list that Marcus has? Serious question. Mm-hmm. That Marcus has that when someone gets a payout, he gets notified?
Oh, I hope so.
Oh, I guarantee you.
And then he would go contact them saying, hey, do we do these lifelikes and da-da-da?
Yeah, I would.
Well, he
I
said
hope they would send
people come
him.
to us. He said people come to us wanting it.
Yeah, people come to us, but do we send them a little flyer in the mail?
Yeah, after they market it heavily.
You just
They
got
come
you just
to
got your settlement, and you're like going, well, do you really want closure?
You don't think there's loved ones Facebook ads popping up every 2 seconds?
Yeah, exactly.
There are.
Hey, Jack, it's guaranteed that Marcus has like a room in his house full of kids' toys, don't you think?
Oh, definitely.
I mean, it'd be
Definitely.
weird if he didn't. This Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles
there's
blend.
some in the background.
I just
Y'all are just like raking me over the coals tonight,
No.
Why?
That's just someone else.
having toys in your house.
No, we're talking about
no,
Jay Glatfelter.
That's not nearly enough.
wow. Okay.
You haven't. The camera's faced a certain way.
Okay.
Okay.
I have a
But-
toy here somewhere.
I definitely have toys that are mine and not my son's. In the book, Nora goes through her like ritual with like when she starts to go out with Kevin. She watches like 2 hours of SpongeBob every day. In the book,
That's in the book. That's not in the show, right?
that is a book in the show. In the book, yeah.
That's
So-
a lot of SpongeBob, but you know.
but it has to be on like she has to watch it.
Is
like-
she watching that because her kids used to watch it?
Yeah.
Okay.
And is there anything else here? Oh, and I just want to say the grenade bit is Megan does that in a school bus in the second.
Oh, that's right. She does.
Yeah.
Good. I forgot all about that.
Yeah, me too.
And that's
Yeah.
everything else is
Do
nothing.
you have any more spoilers?
I mean, there's just little callbacks. Do you know what I mean? Like when we see this PayPal scene again in season 2 in the Nora episode in season 2.
Well, her gasping for air there at the end.
No comment.
I mean, that happened, but okay.
It did happen, but I'm not talking about that right now.
I'll say this about the
Oh
episode
my god.
in its entirety, in the sense that this is like when a few episodes ago we saw the Matt episode, and we kind of compared that to Walkabout, right? And it also felt a little different because obviously it was focused on one character, and a large part of it took place outside of the town, right? The Nora episode is the second one of this type of telling. And what's wonderful about both of these episodes is they really are like, you could look at them as like short stories, right? Like they're very well encapsulated, right? And it's almost like I felt like we saw the seeds of this type of writing in the final season of Lost with the Flash Sideways, where those were their own little stories, right?
Right.
That were completely disconnected from the main plot, right?
And had nothing to do with it whatsoever. Yeah.
Right. But allowing the writers to tell a story that was encapsulated, and in many ways I feel like these type of episodes actually give the actors the greatest ability to show their craft.
Which it did. I wonder how. If I remember correctly, Leftovers was dropping in the ratings. I mean, less people were watching it each week. I wonder how many people, if they could have just made it to episode 6,
Yeah.
would have gone, okay, I like the direction the show's going. Like I said, we've talked about, like I said, question 120. We talked about little things, which is like Lost-like for most of this recap.
Right.
And that to me is a sign of a good television show. And again, we came up with no answer.
And what's amazing is we talked about all this stuff because we've mined this, and we've totally glossed over the key thing because it's so obvious, which was this was this was where Carrie Coon showed her acting chops.
Right.
I mean, there were already hints of it up to this point, but this was her main episode. And we checked, Ethan, did you know that when they shot this, she was like really sick?
Or
Yeah.
was she?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I saw it. Once we couldn't do the show last week. I needed so much leftovers in my life. I listened
Sorry,
to
I
like
was
three.
sick.
No, it's good. I listened to like no, it gave me stuff for coming up episodes. Like I listened to so many podcasts. I watched so many YouTube videos because I couldn't watch the next episode of The Leftovers. Yeah. That was one of the things I.
Yeah. Well, Carrie Coon, like I said, I didn't really know much about her until The Leftovers, and like I said, this episode, it's where she became the star of the show, along with, I'm gonna draw a blank on Kevin's name,
Justin Theroux.
That's where she just became. I was like, oh my god, I want more of her story. I want to see more of her on the screen. And again, if you gave up before episode 6, you made a big mistake.
And it shows something like incredibly audacious about the showrunners, that they would leave like this gem for the 6th episode, right?
Right.
Well, I mean, it's really finding its footing now. I mean, like, some people think the next episode drops a little. I don't, but then it's like from here till the end, we're just going up and up and up and up, as far as I'm concerned. We did not talk about one thing, and we're leaving no stoned Gladys unturned here. I just came up with that one.
Poor Gladys.
Wayne says that he has seen his death and it's coming soon.
Yeah.
And we are in. This ties in with we are now 2 whole episodes in a row with no Tommy and no Christine.
Mm-hmm.
That's right.
Whatsoever. So they are already seeing what is working and what is not working, and they're already starting to trim. like this is the first real
no twins.
They're always with us in our hearts, though. So yeah, I just wanted to mention.
Well, because in season 2 they really cut the fat, and just put the main.
But they do it by the end of this season.
Yeah.
By the end of the season, Amy's gone. Tommy and Christine are. Tommy's something else. Christine's gone. Wayne, Wayne's over. Loose ends.
Nice.
Do we know? Does Wayne get offed in the book?
No. In fact, I have that down. Wayne goes to jail in the book.
Okay.
Tommy spends a lot of time in San Francisco walking around and listening to the barefoot people talk. Well, Christine is at a safe house.
The Target people?
The WHO people. World Health Organization. Stop blaming the WHO for things. The WHO are the greatest.
Who are you?
Yeah.
All right. I think
we got over 100 subscribers now. What's up? Anyway, go ahead.
Anything else we want to chat? We got it?
This is a great show. I think we did great. I think we got it all.
Great show, kids. 1 in a million. Mm-hmm. All right. We'll be back next week, same time, talking about episode 7. What's the title of episode 7?
Solace for Tired Feet. And next week we have a certain issue of National Geographic to look forward to.
Oh, I got it. Remember that episode. All right.
Yeah. And some Scott Glenn. So let's get it on.
Yeah. All right. Can't go wrong with Scott Glenn. All right, guys. We're out of here. Thanks for everyone who joined us in the chat. Randy only made 1 comment, but that's okay. I can live with that. We're out, people.
Bye.
Bye.